Mermaids, often mistaken for sirens, are quite common in oceans, rivers, streams, and pretty much every large-scale body of water across the entirety of Terrestria. They vary in size and shape and colour, and there are numerous breeds and species that come to mind whenever someone speaks of them. But there are a few that stand to rival any of the other peers in presence, strength, and one can say magical abilities. The Corvellion Sea Witch is a breed of mermaid found in the shores surrounding Australia, particularly the shores overlooked by the walls of the Kingdom of Corvel. In its early days, the kingdom was a small offshoot of around 10 men, along with their wives and children, who wished to escape the hustle and bustle of the large kingdom of Sydney. They wished for a quieter life close to the sea, which brought them to the long since forgotten and abandoned ruins of Queensguard. For a while, they used the ancient kingdom's shattered and crumbling walls as refuge, but began work on the construction of their own huts and walls, scrounging whatever materials they could from the ruins. For a while, they lived happily. The men and their families would spend the days building and fortifying the walls, and on the nights they would look out over the coral sea, watching as schools of fish painted the sea in all the different colours of the rainbow. On one particular morning, the daughter of one of these colonists, a 12-year-old girl by the name of Mavis Averill, came across what she thought was a large fish stranded on the beach. When she walked closer, she was enamoured by the creature's bright red, blue and orange complexion, and soon realised, to her surprise, that it was a mermaid. To this point, the people of the settlement hadn't seen nor heard of such a creature before, as they had lived too far inland. But what she was looking at was truly amazing, but it was also hurt, bleeding out from a wound, with the end of a harpoon laying close at its side. When she saw this, she didn't hesitate to run to her father, Deacon Averill, to ask for help. He too was enamoured, but weary and cautious, not knowing of the creature. Still, he reached under the creature, surprised by its weight, lifting it into his arms and carrying it to the nearest healer. The creature had anatomy similar to that of a human, which helped the healer greatly. Over the coming weeks, they healed the creature to full health, making sure to keep her partially in the water to aid in her healing. Mavis visited her every day, still stunned by her beauty, and the creature began to recognise her and the people of the village as friends, smiling whenever someone would come in to draw her, write songs about her, or just admire her. However, everyone knew that they needed to return her to the ocean. Mavis and her father walked down the rocky path to the beach where they found her, singing and happy, with the mermaid clapping along, until they reached the beach and were greeted by the sight of a large ship, its crew unloading the ship's cargo. From the tales of the creature, the mermaid was desperate to go back to the settlement, gesturing and tugging at the man's clothes for him to turn around. Instead, he broke off from the path and carried her into a cave, telling his daughter to wait with her until he returned. The cave had a pool in it that was lit bright blue. Glowworms clung to the ceiling and moss surrounded the pool. The mermaid was still panicking, but Deacon told her that it was okay, and if she needed to leave the cave, there was a tunnel under the pool that led into the open sea. But he asked if she could try and wait until he came back for his daughter. He then left the cave, not sure if the mermaid even understood him, but knowing he needed to get to the bottom of what was going on. What he didn't know was that his daughter had followed him out. Mavis stalked behind her father, not wanting him to see her, hiding behind the rocks as he made his way down the path. When he reached the sand, she stayed hidden in a bush. As he approached the likes of Carrion Vandergild, he was a well-known, well-loved ambassador for the Kingdom of Revellium at a time where Tybor was its king, which was why it struck Deacon as strange that anything would be scared of him. Vandergild was first to speak, asking whether it was okay for them to dock on the beach while they were looking for something. Deacon, already having seen that they were preemptively moving their cargo, only asked what it was they were looking for. He didn't see the point of giving them permission when they were already doing as they pleased. Vandergild's face turned from a grin to a scowl, and, as quoted by Deacon's daughter, he said the following: "Not that you need to know, but I'm sure you've heard of the Kingdom of Revellium. I have been tasked with hunting a scourge that has been plaguing the waters of our land. Do you know what a mermaid is?" "Nah, I can't say I do. But how do the issues of your land bring you to our settlement? Surely the issue can't have spread to here from your shores in the UK." The ambassador stared at Deacon's shirt for a moment, seeing the patch of wet that was in the exact shape of a hand, but then turned away and let out a nervous grin. Well, firstly, a mermaid is a sea creature with eerily similar anatomy to humans. They have long fish-like tails and are covered from head to tail with scales. Their hair is similar, although not exactly the same, to coral. They have webbed hands and their eyes are pure black and soulless. He then reached behind his back, pulling a blade out from under his coat. As for the second remark, you are very much mistaken. He shot his arm up with blade and plunged it into Avril's chest, causing him to cough up blood. Your settlement is now an outpost for the new Corvellion Empire. He was handed a bag by one of his men that appeared to be dripping with a blue translucent substance. He smiled and then walked up the path towards the village. Mavis, tears streaming down her cheeks, was forced to hide as he walked past, and one can only assume the mermaid was forced to exit through the tunnel, as he sent men into the cave to look for something. They left the cave empty-handed, meaning she must have escaped. Mavis had to watch in horror as the ambassador claimed the mermaid had killed her father, and while some were skeptical at first, they took his word as gospel as he held up the head of a mermaid, dangling it from its coral-like hair. They took on the leadership of the ambassador with open arms, under the impression that they were hunting the mermaids for the sake of avenging one of their own. The mermaids and humans fought, leading to the discovery of abilities that nobody knew mermaids had. They attacked using streams of water projected through thought and guided by their hands. They used bolts of water like cannons and were able to camouflage beneath the waves. If enough of them used their abilities at once, they were able to cause tidal waves and tsunamis just from a thought, and were able to wield it like a sorcerer wielding magic. This was a terrible time for the people of Corvel, especially when they found out that their war with the sea was based on a lie concocted by a man who wanted to cause a mass genocide. The Corvellion Sea Witch was a name given to the creature by the ambassador, and with no other name to go with, it stuck. There have been a few sightings since, but they and most other breeds of mermaid resorted to hiding beneath the waves, scared of humanity, with their numbers depleted and potentially on the brink of extinction. Whenever they are seen now, they are chased back into the sea by the people of Corvel, after realising that it was too late to take back the years of pain on both sides. But I have got it on good authority that Mavis has set her eyes on repairing the relationship between them, and taking back the kingdom that her father helped to found.